Right, we've got Mark Gerrard for the Historic Places Trust.
Yep.
That information you just referred to, has that been circulated?
Not yet. It's actually in the table that you got yesterday. If you look at the beginning and the end point, 9.4, 9.5. Yeah, but it was an email that came through yesterday with an attachment, and I've just asked for the numbers to be made explicit, but I'm just getting some more detail for you. Mark.
Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to make the submission. We'd ask the Council pass on our appreciation of the efforts of the Heritage team, and I think you'll agree the Heritage strategy recently adopted by the Council is a credit to them and to the Council as a whole, and isn't it great to have the Christchurch Town Hall back? In addition, we'd also request the Council's pass on appreciation of Richie Moyle and his team on their ongoing efforts in restoring and repairing the Council's heritage buildings. Highlights this year, as you're well aware, Nurses Memorial Chapel and the Historic Rose Chapel, which is stunning. Please go and see it. In addition, we'd like to acknowledge the passing of Heritage Stalwart Pam Wilson. Her passing is a loss to us all, and she was particularly associated with the Nurses Memorial Chapel. In addition, we'd also like to acknowledge the efforts and achievements of the recently retired Dave Hinman, who served this council for 50 years. Getting back to the specifics, we fully endorse the special Heritage Cathedral targeted rate, also the proposed capital program for Chokebore, Edmonds, Ban Rotunda, Kapuatahi dwelling. However, we are concerned about the proposed delay in the restoration of the old municipal chambers and request that funds be set aside for its restoration, for the commitments of its restoration. We're concerned about the delay in the restoration and strength of Robert McDougall Gallery, and we ask that funds be set aside so residents can again enjoy this magnificent bequest by Robert McDougall. Moving on to the Provincial Council building, we note that it doesn't appear in the annual plan and documentation, so therefore we make a request that the Council start serious planning for the full restoration of the Provincial Council buildings. These are an internationally recognised heritage gem. They're one of our treasures. Now, there has been talk and we're hearing in the past of maybe informal chats with the government, but we think, and we have fielded questions and submissions in the past, would we endorse this? We think it's appropriate that the Council actually start formal negotiations with central government to ensure the long overdue commencement of the restoration of the Provincial Council buildings. We think it's important to start this planning. We don't know what the result is, but actually start this one. It's sort of been in abeyance for some time. It's probably time to start having a good look at these. Are a special set of buildings. Later on, we've asked for request the Council review its heritage team's funding and increase it so they can proactively identify heritage buildings that are as yet unscheduled and ensure they are scheduled for the district plan. We commend the Council now gaining complete control over its district plan with no government intervention or part or role in that. We think it's a great initiative. Well done. Twofold in this one, Yorkhouse Memorial Hall, which ended up, looks like it was proposed for demolition, and we were concerned the late involvement of the heritage team. Now, we understand there's been a review in heritage management policy and they've responded very, very quickly, but probably the heritage team should have been involved early on the assessment, and we're wondering how many other council-owned buildings are in a similar position. I suspect this is a resourcing problem, not to do with internal within the council. In addition, the other reason for doing that as well, we've done some research and we were absolutely stunned to learn that only 0.25% of all the building stock in Christchurch are scheduled heritage. That's 1% of buildings are protected under the plan. In the central city, this rises to 5.5% of the total stock. Now, that 5.5% will drop markedly, as you're well aware, when all the empty building sites start to fill. Now, if it wasn't for the Arts Centre, where each individual of the Arts Centres count as an individual building, that's a phenomenally low. So I can actually say to you that heritage actually is a quantifiable rare treasure, because it's a very low proportion. So we think it's important for the council to be proactive in ensuring additional buildings are put onto the list, since we've lost quite a number on the quake. In addition, that we ask that the council heritage team be given increased funding to incentivise heritage retention and, where required, proactively enforce heritage protection. We think there's a danger in some cases of the building owner choosing not to spend any funds on maintenance, what we call heritage by neglect. Also demolition by neglect, I should say, sorry. Now, this could be an issue that we predict may come in with earthquake-prone buildings' identification of priority routes, which means the period of time set aside to strengthen a heritage building is considerably shortened. And we wouldn't like to get in a situation where there's been a delay and then the building's got to be done because of the routes, and all of a sudden, oh no, we've got no more money. The building suffers, and it's the innocent where it's the negligence of the owner. So we'd like the council to get on the front end to incentivise the owners to restore this. We don't want to get it front against a deadline on that one. As regards the council's heritage strategy, it's a wonderful initiative. We've asked for additional funding to be provided for the heritage team to ensure the heritage strategy can be progressed. One case would be an outreach to the community, so they're maintaining these community contacts, which you've successfully built in your consultation, which was a wonderful event. In addition, we've asked that additional funding be set aside for building a digital online capacity to provide a digital backbone for the heritage strategy. The reason we ask this, that this is an easy gimme. The library already provides, as an example, if that's the chosen service. Now, you have the history of all the scheduled buildings in the district plan. To find it, you've got to go through Google. It's not readily available. To transfer all that text, which is now online, to a readily identifiable digital online so everybody can have access to it would be a wonderful thing to do for the city. So we'd envisage of residents who take friends around the city and guests of the city, tour drivers, self-guiding tourists have got real acknowledgement to a history of those buildings by using that statement of significance, which is not online. We're asking it, it's just easily more accessible. And we think that's an easy thing to do, and it's something that the library, if it's chosen as the venue, would be an ideal opportunity, since it's already there. And that helps the city, and that'd be a great initiative. Now, finally, we've just, in the past, we've made requests. We just asked that, as a result, that we get a detailed response to our annual plan submission. In the past, it's been a pro forma letter. In the not too distant past, we used to get copies of the staff reports as a result of that. We know what the decisions are. We think that's a good solution if staff reports are going to the council, and that be included, because we spend some time thinking about making submissions to the council, and we're pretty respectful, and we think it'd be nice to hear back what their response is on that one. We think it's an easy one to do if it's a staff report copy, overlabour it. But we think a pro forma letter, well, it's not a great response when you spend some time putting together a submission. Councillors.
Great, thank you very much. I've read a lot of those, the heritage examples, and I can't imagine that it would be very difficult for the library to have an online resource that you could just access from wherever. So
yes, it is
probably a no-brainer
for guiding, etc. It's great potted history, and it's online, but it's not hugely accessible because it's buried in the framework for the district plan.
You can get it through the touch wall, dare I say it.
Yep.
Sarah.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, there are so many buildings, and we've had various expressions for use of different buildings. As far as the heritage is concerned, the key thing is the building itself and the heritage fabric. It's not the use and future use of it. Is that right? So I'm thinking about Robert McDougall, for example. So we've got potential future uses. There are people asking for various different things about it. When it comes to the actual heritage itself, it's about the building or about more than that?
The council strategy, which you've just recently adopted, said the social history and the stories that go with the building are as important as the building. Yeah. However, we are in favour of what you're looking for is the phrase we call it adaptive reuse, where the building is adapted for another use than it was originally intended. Yeah. Although in some cases it's got to be sympathetic to the building's intention so the building is not damaged. I mean, we're realistic about that. I mean, it's what's required. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Bill?
Thanks, Mark. In a previous submission, there was really a request around the Robert McDougall Art Gallery. The request was that the funding be funding for base isolation, clearly to protect valuable artworks. Is that, in terms of your knowledge of the building, is that something that your trust would agree with, or have a different view?
No, we would agree. I mean, if it encourages the future use of the building, which is what it's proposed for and it's related to it, of course we would. That will return that. First up, the building's to be preserved and restored to the best practice. In addition, if it's going to make it more available to the public, in the case of the museums requested, or a similar organisation, I'm not sure its status and expressions of interest, yes, we would be available to best practice because that will ensure extra protection for the building. But our primary cause is to ensure that the building, in this case, is protected and it's also restored, because it's a bequest from Robert McDougall. We'd like it to be available to the public to enjoy at the soonest opportunity.
can I reframe the question?
Yes.
Do you agree that we should find another $12 million and put it on budget so that it can be base isolated in conjunction with the museum? Because that's the request. It doesn't need to be base isolated to be restored as the Robert McDougall Gallery.
That's a decision what I refer to as the big table, which is where the council makes the decisions where the
Yes,
process
no,
has a stay.
I agree, but I don't think that it was really explicit as to what the choices actually are in front of the council. And the explicit choice is, do we find an additional $12 million in order to base isolate a building that does not require base isolation for its purpose, for its current purpose under the, as the Robert McDougall Gallery? No, but if it had as a gallery, it doesn't require that.
I should point out, our first priority is that the building survives and it's
Yeah.
intact and fully restored and available to the public. That's your decision about the next stage of protection.
It may well be that the best solution would be to find a legislative solution that actually allowed the museum to take it over as part of the joint.
As I understand, the tax working group was putting earthquake strengthening on depreciation on the building. It's one of the proposals on the group which Historic Places Aotearoa endorsed.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.